What we doing now? It's Nisha's network, y'all.
It's Nisha's network, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about connecting, yeah.
Connect the
Let's go.
vibe.
It's Nisha's network, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all about connecting, yeah. Let's go.
Connect and feel the vibe. Connections make you feel alive. We do this every day. Let's put your business on display. Network, let's heal and pray. It's our love, we here to stay. Trust in God, He'll lead the way. We on right now, no need to wait. Let's go. It's Nisha's network, yeah, yeah. It's all about connecting, yeah. Let's go.
Well, hey, everybody in Nisha's Network world. I am super excited to be here today. I'm just going to say happy Wednesday. It is the happy hump day, and I am privileged to have none other than my sister, Yolanda Livingston, with us today. Hey, yo.
Hey, niece.
Hey, and I know that we've had you as a guest before, but this is on a different level because now we can introduce her as author of her own book, which is what we're going to talk about today. A lot of people walk in bondage and they walk in the stress levels of life, and we all have our opportunities, but we are going to talk about being free to be today. And I am just grateful. So if you are watching right now, I want you all to go ahead and click share. It's going to be an amazing time, our conversation together. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself and then give a little history behind us as sisters, because some people might be like, oh, that's your sister? How is she your sister? So she's going to explain all of that. And we're going to go ahead and then we'll get started talking about what we're here today about. Okay. All right, yo, take it over, girl.
All right, I'm Yolanda Livingston. I am the wife of, first of all, I am the daughter of the Most High God, first of all. Then I'm the wife of Carl Livingston, Dr. Carl E. Livingston. And I am a sister and a mother. And Nisha and I are sisters because God ordained it to be so. And since we were 8 years old, and we met each other at the prayer band convention that her grandpa and my former pastor and Auntie Betty started. And we used to go there every year. And I think, everybody was going to the prayer band to go to worship and to go to, experience God. Nisha and I went to the prayer band convention so we could see each other.
That's true. That's true.
And God just knit our hearts together. And as a result, we're sisters. And, there is genetic sisters, and then there are God divine connected sisters, and that's Nisha and I, and it connected both of our families, so we're just family, period, and that's the end of the story.
Yep.
And you can't erase it, you can't take it away, because we got a blood connection through Jesus Christ.
Amen. Amen. Well, if you guys are watching, I want you all to definitely click share and to share this mainly with someone who is a pastor's wife. The professional term is first lady. I guess I'm gonna call it that. First lady. Yo is called Lady Liv. And that's what you can find her on those social media handles on Instagram, and then Yolanda Olive Livingston on um, Facebook. But today we are so excited that we can talk about her book, Prison of the Pastor's Wife, Be Free. Now, let me just say this, you guys. This book right here, I had the privilege of reading it before it was published. And it's, it's a very good read. A lot of transparency in this book. And a lot of people, it's controversial. The title's controversial, right?
Yes.
So let's just talk about the title first. Now, we went through
Yes.
several titles, and I'm being her sister, so I was like, I don't know. But this stands out. But people miss the part about be free. So let's talk about the inspiration behind Prison of the Pastor's Wife.
Okay, the inspiration behind that is
Title,
simply
title.
the title is simply God. That's all I can say is I felt like that is the title that the Lord gave me, and it has been very controversial. It has been a topic of discussion, and my husband in particular, he just cannot stand that title. But it's because so many people, they crack jokes, because he's a pastor. Additionally, he is a chaplain in the United States Army, and they're like, man, you got your wife in prison, and so people would crack those kinds of jokes. But the reason that the title, or where the title derived from, was that oftentimes pastors' wives live in a prison, and it isn't necessarily anything to do with their husband, pastor, but it is everything to do with the situation, the ministry that they are in, the fishbowl that they live in. And so instead of
Stereotype.
walking,
The
yeah,
stereotype.
the stereotype, instead of walking in freedom, we walk according to what people's mandate and dictate is for our lives, and then we end up imprisoned in stuff that's not even us. We end up closed in and separating ourselves from everything that God intended, because we're meeting the mark of what man and the people have intended. And I think that's the thing that we are looking at when we talk about the prison of the pastor's wife. It's the congregation, it's the mandate that is put on them, and they are pulled from, is the point of that. And so that's where the title derived from. And because I've seen so many pastors' wives, and they look like they're in prison, they looked like there was never a smile.
Yeah.
There was, always pressure, always just this stressed, perplexed appearance. And it looked like one of someone in prison. And the vision that I saw a woman behind prison bars with her hands held around them, and behind them were women and men and the pastor, with all these different emotions and expressions targeted at her. And that was the image that I saw when this book was first implanted. It wasn't birthed yet, it was implanted. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sure you've had some of your own struggles and different things like that. And how long have you been a pastor's wife? Let's talk about that. How long? How many years?
Jesus. All my life. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, I've been coming up on 20 years.
20 years. So I want to read your the back of the book a little bit. It says the prison of the pastor's wife speaks to the journey of the first lady, shedding light on some of the challenges associated with this ministry, because being a pastor's wife is a ministry. Additionally, it speaks to the heart of every woman who is in a marital relationship. This book is designed to encourage first ladies that they are not alone. This book allows for time of reflection to reach a place of freedom and wholeness. In like manner, this book is useful to tools to churches in developing their awareness on how to treat the first family. It will also give insight to pastors and husbands regarding how their wives and children often feel and what they are confronted with. The book highlights some of the strongholds faced by first ladies and offers solutions and prayers to help successfully navigate these sometimes treacherous waters. And I really want to kind of go back a little bit in time, remembering my grandmother as a first lady, remembering my grandmother, Mother Eleanor Crawford. Her posture at 4'11" stood tall like she was 6 feet 5. My grandmother didn't take any mess. She had a grace about her. I have to say that. I'll never forget this, yo, when she said, after my grandfather passed, the people, women were just grieving, and they were just so sorrowful after 6 months and 8 months. And finally, my grandmother said, my grandmother said, look, that was my husband. And if I don't have not hauling over grieving, y'all need to get your act together. I was like, oh my God. And she just really, she called it out. And I'm only mentioning that because she held her posture. She served the Lord. She was a praying wife. She was a praying grandmother and all those things. But I just want to say this too, that we gave her an 80th birthday, and my grandmother told me that in the history of her being a first lady, that she had never received a birthday party to the 80th when her family gave it to her. This is what she told me. Okay, I can't make this up. So I said, "Oh my God, who thinks about the pastor's wife?" Can you expound a little bit on that?
That just made tears come to my eyes. Just remembering grandma and what a powerhouse of a woman she was. And she and I had a couple of conversations about this pastor wife thing. We were at her house one time, sitting in that chair, like right from the door, and she and I talked a little bit about that. That's very true. Oftentimes, the pastor's wife is, just for lack of a better word right now, neglected, because the limelight is always highlighting the pastor, and oftentimes even with the pastor's aid or the pastor's ministry, even they sometimes don't think about the entire whole. They only think about the pastor. And I think a lot of times where that breakdown happens is we forget the fact that they're one.
Yes.
Because it, no matter what, yes, he's the pastor, but before he was a pastor, he was that woman's husband. And even if it was not prior to their marriage, at the end of the day, God created family before he ever created the church, before
Right.
he ever created a pastor. He
Right.
created a husband and he created a wife. And so that union, they're together. They're not really separate entities, although that's how it is perceived. And I only got to respect the pastor so I can talk this way. I can do the first lady and I can, love on and just, idolize. That's what happens. Let's just be frank. There's a lot of idolization going on in
Yeah.
in the church, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And God is the only one that is supposed to be the apple of your eye. And
Yeah.
we miss it and we miss it. And that's very difficult and sometimes it's very hurtful. I have been honored at year number 10. Um, and I believe there's a plan for something for year number 20, but it isn't as and then they're very mindful. They like, acknowledge me during those ceremonies or whatever. But I've seen situations where there are some churches that don't do anything for the pastor's wife, and even sometimes the pastor doesn't think to say, hey, honor my wife,
Yeah.
that's my part.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Well,
hard. It's difficult.
well, let's talk about the freedom part, because that, to me, this book is so filled with Yolanda's own personal journey. And not saying Carl kept her in prison or anything like that, but
No.
marriage can be tough sometimes, and you can walk through the honeymoon period, you can walk through wounds, you can walk through. I'm just reading her chapters. You can walk through honeymoon period, you can walk through wounds, you can walk through. I love this statement because I came to the installation, and this was my favorite line that she said, and I never heard a pastor's wife say this. She said, "I will share my food, I will share my home, I will share my my love." She said, "And I'll share my pastor, but I will not share my husband." And she said that on the day of the installation. I thought that was so amazing. But to me, you have to stand your ground to say, that's what I'm fighting for, my family. I want my family. I want my husband. I love you guys, but we are one. And so tell us a little bit about that I'll share my pastor, not my husband.
Oh, that's another one of those controversial statements. But I stand on that. I don't intend to share my husband, and I don't have a problem with us sharing a pastor because he's your pastor as well as my pastor. He's my
Right.
pastor. But additionally, he's my husband, and that's where the line draws. There are certain things that my husband just cannot do for you. But there are some things that the pastor is supposed to. And the one thing that's greatest and important is care for your soul.
Yes.
That's what he is called to do. And I think that's the other area that we miss it. And somebody need to write a book on that. But we miss the part that the sole responsibility of pastors is to feed your soul. But we don't give our pastors the opportunity or the room to study, the room to do the things that he need to do in the face of God, because we're busy calling him in the midnight hour talking about my toe hurts, or calling because I need you to come to the hospital because I was rushed to the hospital. That's when the elders of the church come in play. Hey, call them. They can pray, you can pray. But I'm just saying, so there has to be a line drawn somewhere, and I don't personally feel like that line indicates that there is any um fear or lack of confidence in your relationship. It's just something that needs to be clear. There needs to be lined boundaries. There need to be boundaries set, and that's just one that I started out with.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about the time where you sought out wise counsel to say, "Hey, I need healing. I can't walk this journey the same. I can't. I need healing." What do you have to say about that? About people getting help and counsel?
I think that that is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. I think that there is no need to suffer alone. That is a part of why this book was written, because I want every pastor's wife to know that you are not alone. And I feel like a lot of times that's what happens. Pastors' wives feel like they're all by themselves because they have to cover for everybody and everything. They can never totally open up and be transparent because they have to be the shield, they have to be the protector. But I just want us to know that we don't have to do that, because that's God's job. God's job is to protect us. And so in the meantime, you suffer through this stuff silently and alone. And I think that is the worst thing you can do, because that the end result, just bottom line, is suicide. And I don't want to see another pastor's wife, another anybody go through silently to the point that they get to a place where they feel there is absolutely no hope, and then suicide is their alternative. So yes, get help. Go get help. Wherever you can get it, get help. Start opening up. And I'm not telling you to tell all your business and uncover your husband, but I'm telling you to go to a place of safety so that you can become free. Because walking around with that bondage, because that's what that is. Okay, let me not use that word bondage. Walking around cloaked in heaviness of all of your situations and not having one person that you can totally open up to will lead to your death, and early death. And it's too many of us dying too early.
Yeah.
And so, yes, get help. Yes, that was one of the best things I did. And I'm gonna say this. I said it last night, as I was in an anthology session. This book was a walk to freedom. As I wrote this book, I was not free. I walked and wrote to a place of freedom. As I wrote this book, there were so many stings, there was so much hurt, there was so much pain still there. And many times I dropped the pen and was like, forget it. But as I picked the pen up and I kept writing, as I got help to walk me through those tough times, and I kept writing. When I went back and read this book myself, the same sting was not there. Even
Hallelujah.
today, the same sting is not there. So I don't want us to, let me say this. I don't want you to think the stings are not going to come again. They come in some different areas. They may even come looking like the same thing. But my sister Shauna said, just because something comes back does not mean that what you were delivered from, what you were healed and set free from, has changed. You still are healed and set free. There's just a different area that needed to come up. And so, yes, I think that getting help is good, and walking through the journey is good. That's good, and it's healing, and it will keep you from losing your mind and dying too soon.
Yeah. I want to just ask this. I want to talk a little bit about mastering it all, but before I do, I think about this. There's a stereotype for a lot of people. Now, I know there are denominations where husband and wife are pastors, some are just first ladies, some wives are pastors and the husbands are the overseers or whatever the case may be. But there seems to be always the stereotype of first ladies that they're solidified and they're untouchable and they're closed off and they're not very friendly. I don't. My grandmother wasn't like that. I do believe she protected her home. You know what I'm saying? And I can't really speak for you because I think you're just a jovial person and you love everybody. But I do know that after women get hurt or first ladies get hurt, it's like you put your guard up and then you don't have any more tolerance for the people. And so I know God has to heal that area, but what would you recommend for people? Because that is a hard place to come back from, or especially if there's been any type of, you know, circumstances that causes the marriage to be affected, and then you still have to keep going. What would you say to the wives in order to how to deal with that?
This just dropped in my spirit, and this is not something that I ever do, but I'm going to say, come talk to me. I am getting ready to do pastors' wives mentoring curriculum, and come talk to me. But I think one of the things that is critical to do is, number one, always be you. I think that's where we mess up. We're trying to meet the demands of the people and of the church, because that's something that is in the beginning of the book. You plan to be married and in union with this husband. You didn't plan to be in union with this husband and the congregation. And so all of those expectations put on you, it does exactly that. And there is that stereotype, which is why the title is there, the prison, because they're stereotyped, they're hurt, they're wounded. And so you see the end result of what has happened to them over years. And I never understood that, because I would look at them and I thought those same things, made those same judgment calls and all of that. But you don't know their story until you've walked in their shoes, or until they open up and share their story. Then
Wow.
you understand why that harsh or that cold, stoic exterior exists, because that's not who they are on the inside. And so that's what I would like to encourage every pastor's wife, every pastor, every co-pastor. Never lose you, because God created you. Last night, Lady Ford, she came on and she said this, and it just rang like to the hilt for me. She said, "I've been a pastor's wife for 34 years." She said, "But one thing I am, yes, his wife, but I am Renee." And so I'm me. And that's the thing where we get lost. We get lost not being us. And I know you know, because my sisters, and y'all was like, "Where's yo?" Where's yo? And where's that yo that I knew? You take on all of this stuff and then you just shrink down to like nothing. And that's not what God intended, because God created you. I had the pleasure of not too long ago sharing with one of my big brothers in the ministry. And one of the things he said to me, he said, he said, "Yo, you lost you." And he said, it was like you became, he said, it was like I saw two curls. And he said, I just started praying. And so I'm saying you have to always maintain who God made you and fall in line with what God says. And it took me a while to learn that, but I'm so grateful that I did. I don't have to be anybody but who God created me to be.
Yeah.
And so that's where I am with that right now.
Yeah.
That
Well,
answered that question.
that was a great answer to that question. As we close, I do want to speak a little bit too, and this just made me think about a segment I'm going to have coming soon, talking to the kids. And I'll probably talk to them in age groups, so that because it'll be a little different for some. but daughters of pastors' kids. But you one part you said, my daughter would say to me, "Mommy, you have too much on your plate. You need to eat some of those things off there." Out of the mouth of babes, she was right. I had so much on my plate. I was trying to master it all, but was not mastering any of it. Let me encourage you, First Lady. Master them all if you must, but only a few at a time. While you are mastering being a wife, a mother, working, teaching, you may not be able to master school, being the PTA mom, and doing all the many other responsibilities you think you need to have. I suggest you free yourself, First Lady. I understand it's not easy. I can remember going to the doctor and telling me, Yolanda, you have to choose three things that you're going to do, and all the other stuff you're going to have to let go. I asked her if those three things included Carl and Gyra. Her response, yes. And I was like, how am I supposed to do that? I have to do Sunday school. I have to do women's ministry. I have to do Bible study. I'm a family nurse practitioner and all the other things that I had to do. Sister, you will kill you. And so let's just talk a little bit briefly about that and bring it into a close to say, hey, you can't master it all.
You can't master it all. Um, I take that back. You can master it all. You just can't master it all at the same time.
Yeah, that's
You
correct.
have to figure out what things are important because it blew my mind because I'm just being transparent because the book is transparent, it's all out there, right? I was losing my mind and I was living in a place of depression for, I promise you, at least 7 years straight. And my doctor, Greta, I love her, that's my friend and my doctor, she was like, you got to pick three things. And when she said those, because I'm thinking three things in addition to
Mm,
Carl and Gyra. No, that is included in your three. And I'm like, what? How do you do that? But you have to do what is best for you because you will kill you. And let me just tell you this, you will die and life will go on.
mm,
And that's just the truth of the
that's
matter.
yeah.
And so you have to get to a place where the two important things I'm gonna do, well, three. I'm gonna do God first. I'm gonna do my husband and my children. And whatever else I can do on there, I will. But if it's overwhelming me, that's coming off. And Jara did. She used to tell me that from a little girl. Mommy, and that's why I was so cute. You need to eat some of that stuff off your plate. It's like out of the babies can see you being overwhelmed, and you will keep doing that until you are no longer you and
Yeah.
you are imprisoned to this horrible situation that the most important thing is God never intended.
Yeah. Yeah.
God never said that's what you were supposed to end up doing.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. Well, you guys, you need to go out, go to Amazon today, purchase Prison of the Pastor's Wife, Be Free. Be free, First Lady. Be free, woman of God. This is not just for pastors' wives. It's for women who are living in the prison of their mind, of allowing the enemy to strap them down to strongholds and bondages that are not for you. So the title of this segment today is free to be. But we are free to be in Christ. What does it say? Whom the Son sets free is free indeed. We are want to be free indeed, you guys. So I want you all to go and purchase this and give this to another pastor's wife who you know may be struggling, who may be having some circumstances that they're not exactly able to handle. And Yolanda is here for speaking engagements. She is here to come and preach. She is a preacher in her own right. She's here to come and preach the gospel. If you need her to minister to your ministry or speak to leaders and women in leadership, definitely reach out. The name of your ministry is Freedom Project, and going to put the website up, freetobe.org. You all can go to freetobe.org to find out more information. You got some exciting things coming up. But what can you encourage the ladies with? The last thing you can encourage them with, the women of God, the women in ministry, the pastors' wives, not just pastors' wives, but people that are living in prison in their mind. How can you encourage them today with our last thoughts?
I think my greatest encouragement would be to move everything out of the way so that you can be free to be unapologetically you. That
Mm,
that's the greatest thing because every all of the other freedoms come when you're free to be you
Wow.
and not apologize, because guess what? That's who God made me. And if you have problems with that, then you need to take that up with God, because that's who I'm being, who God made me.
Yes. Well, it would be a miss of me if I don't say we give honor to your husband, Pastor Carl E. Livingston, Dr. Carl E. Livingston, who is her husband of 26, 27,
8.
28 years. Wow. 28 years of Walnut Grove Missionary Baptist Church. And we are just grateful for him allowing her to write this book. Because, you know, you have to get permission for stuff. And he actually wrote her forward, which
He
is
sure
so
did.
powerful. He endorsed this book and he wrote her forward. And he definitely, he may not like the title. I'll talk about my brother. He may not like the title, but the bottom line is that walking out a journey as a husband, wife, they're soldiers. not literally, he's a soldier.
Literally.
Literally, he's a soldier. So he's a soldier in the army of the Lord, is soldier in marriage. Okay. And I'm so honored to have them and call them as family. So, ladies, gentlemen, pastors, if you want to understand where your wife wants to be free, you know, or where she's obtaining freedom, Prison of the Pastor's Wife. Sometimes this is education, not just for women, but for men as also. And even some teenagers and young adults who are PKs. You know, the struggle is real, but guess what? There's victory. And that's what Yolanda talked about, is free. So freetobe.org, go ahead and purchase your book, Prison of the Pastor's Wife. And you want to tell us about the upcoming project that you have coming?
Sure. I wish I had a copy of that. It is Free to Be. And it is an anthology that we are gathering women who the Lord has laid on my heart, who I feel has a story to share about a journey that they had to freedom. And so we are going to be doing that, and it's going to be great. And it's going to be great because it is not just for pastors' wives, it's for women. And again, the Lord is like been dealing with me that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony. And too long we've been silenced. And again, I'm not encouraging you to strip down the walls of the church and to uncover every dirty crevice. No, but I am encouraging you to become transparent to those places where you need healing.
Yeah.
And that's what that book is about. It's about free to be, and it's about being free to be those things that are binding in your life. You know, you may be good at being you, but there may be another area that you're bound in. You may not be good at being, you know, the teacher, the preacher. You may, you know, there may be some things that have cut you off. And so this book is about that. There are some things that have happened in your life that you walk through a journey and you never said a word. And here's your opportunity to open up and say, hey, and something that I'm finding really that is huge, even with some of the women that are joining to do this anthology, is they're going to be a lot like me. They're going to write to a place of freedom
Yeah, that's
because
good.
their hurt is still present and the stuff still happened, but they've not had a release of it. And this writing opportunity is going to give them a freedom. And as other people read it, they're going to become free as well.
Wow, that's so beautiful. So beautiful. I'm so proud of you, if I could say that, even though you're the older, younger sister. But I'm excited about all God is doing in your life and Carl's life. And we're just gonna, and Jaira, and we just thank the Lord for you. And I love you. And I am just grateful. So you guys go ahead and share this video, share the book, Prison of the Pastor's Wife. Be free. Be free. That's
Be
the part.
free. That's
Free.
the part.
Take that on, be free. And we will see you all next time. Thank you so much, y'all, and hang tight. And we'll talk to you guys next time on Nisha's Network, Insightful Moments with Nisha. Talk to you soon.
Connect and vibe, connect and vibe, connect and vibe.